Hey guys, how's it going? Let me
Hi
know if you
everyone.
can hear me well.
Yeah, we can
Put,
hear you.
yeah, that's great. I was talking to the audience more. If you can hear me, just put some pluses in the chat or something. Yeah, yeah. Hi, pluses. Okay, cool, cool. I hope you can see the screen as well. So today we're going to have a very, very interesting webinar. It's going to be about a unique topic, I would say. I have never heard actually a webinar for this kind of audience on this topic. So it's going to be really unique and interesting. And the topic today is called Web Accessibility Matters, Unlocking Digital Inclusion. And but before we get to that, let me introduce myself. My name is Kirillo, and I am the business analysis office director at a company called SoftServe. And we usually like to start these webinars a little bit slow, just to get acquainted, get a chance for some of you to join the session. So let's have our regular routine. Why don't you put in the chat where are you connecting from? Where are you watching this webinar from? I like to see the location. So put that in the chat if you can. Okay, we have Lviv. Well, that is Ukraine. We have Krakow. Cool. Lviv, Poland. Okay. Okay. Lviv, Kiev. Capital. Okay. That's interesting. Poltava, Ukraine. Cluj. Okay. Chernivtsi region. Krakow, Kharkiv. So there are a lot of Ukrainians today. What a surprise. London, Canada. Okay, what I would say, I thought that London was the capital of Great Britain, but it is also in Canada. Great. Vinnytsia, Lviv, Kharkiv, Ternopil, Chernivtsi. Great. I'm actually connected also from Ukraine, from Dnipro. So great to hear all of you guys. Not to hear, but to see your comments and to have you here with this webinar. Tel Aviv. Wow. Wow, that's a first, I think. That's great. Welcome. So we do have a Q&A, which you're supposed to use for the questions. Yeah, but that's fine. You can put something there as well. So we have two ways to communicate. We have a chat. We have a Q&A. Q&A is more for questions and answers, and chat is for general communication. But it's okay to use both options. So I'm going to talk a little bit about our company and also a little bit about our educational projects, and then I will give the floor to our speakers, and we will talk about web accessibility. So first of all, a few words about SoftServe. As most of you may probably know, that's a tech company specializing in consultancy services and software development. And actually, I mean, we provide services in like the fields of a lot of different technologies, like big data, Internet of Things, AI, cloud computing, and in many domains. I mean, you name it, we have it. Working with a lot of products. I mean, I wouldn't be wrong if I say like about 1,000 of products in our portfolio. And definitely accessibility is something which is really important for most of those products. But I guess our speakers will talk about that. So our business analysis office was established in 2012, and currently we have around 430 business analysts spread across 12 countries. So that's just a short reminder of what company we're representing here today. Now, just a few words. We as Business Analysis Office also have our educational projects or courses, as you may call them. So here they are. I will not talk much about all of the courses today because some of the courses are already in progress. Some of the courses are sold out and booked till the end of the year. So we're not going to talk much about those courses, but we do have one course, which is like the registration is still open and we're still looking for more participants to join. And that one is the last one here on the slide. It's called 10 Key Techniques for Product Ownership Analysts, or for Successful Product Ownership Analysts. And I have a special slide about that course. So here it is. What this course is about. It is actually targeted for business analysts who want to advance in their career and move towards like product ownership, taking more ownership from your clients, moving more into like product ownership direction. and being responsible for the whole product development. And in the base of this course, there is a CPOA certification of IABA, but it is not the course about getting prepared to be certified. It is more of a practical course. So you see here this 10 topics, 10 themes, and all of those are workshops. So it's really practical. So you may see what are the topics on this course. So you have here visioning, impact mapping, understanding your customer journey map, value stream mapping, Kano analysis, story mapping, purpose alignment model, planning workshop, and real options. And all of those are real practical workshops. So all of the trainers on this course have CPOA certification. So they are all certified product ownership analysts. And they are ready to share their knowledge, share their experience, and have some practical workshops with you. And another uniqueness or like unique side of this course, that you don't have to buy all 10 workshops, or participate in all 10 workshops. So if you want, you can purchase like the full package and have all 10 workshops, but you can also choose the workshops that you'd like to participate in. For example, you are very familiar with impact mapping and using that on the regular basis, but you don't know what the real options are, or you're wondering about customer journey map. So you can select the workshops that you're interested in, and in that way make it more practical for you. So there is a QR code if you scan it, or if someone can help me and put the link in the chat, you can go to this page where we have all those courses listed, but you have to find the 10 key techniques to become successful product ownership analyst and register. So the course starts at November 13th. It's going to be about a month. Yeah, exactly a month. And right before the end of the year, you will learn much more about product ownership analysis. So if you're interested, don't waste time and register for this course. All right, I think I took enough of your valuable time, and now it's time to introduce our speakers and move on to our topic. So let me introduce our speakers today. We have actually a team of speakers, 3 speakers. That's also a first time here in this Beacon Webinars initiative. So our first speaker will be Anna Hamutova. She's a lead business analyst at SoftServe, a colleague of mine. And our second speaker is Roman Savka, who is accessibility test engineer, also at SoftServe. And joining them, Victoria Shiryaeva, engineering manager of the accessibility department at SoftServe. So our speakers are actual professionals in the topic that they're going to represent today. And I will tell you the next thing. There are very few certified accessibility experts in the world, and 2 of them are here today. They're the speakers. But I guess you will know who is certified, who is not during the speech. So yeah, without further ado, let me give the floor to our speakers. So Anna, you can share and start the presentation.
Hello, thanks for presentation, and guys, thanks for joining. I'm sharing my screen. Please be patient, a couple of seconds. And please let me know whether you can see it or not.
Yeah, it's here.
Okay, great. It's the most important part that I can share my screen. Okay, so welcome to our webinar, and let's go and see what we're going to go through today. So first, we will tell you who uses accessibility features, what actually accessibility is. We will show you a real-life example of how a person with particular disability uses different digital products. Also, we will tell you why accessibility is important, not only to users, but also to businesses, why it even needed. Then we will talk about accessibility in software development lifecycle, which is, of course, very important because we all work within this cycle. And then we will go to what actually BA is doing to provide accessibility features in a product. Then I will show you a quick accessibility check, which spoiler will not be that quick. It can be much longer, but just quick steps how to check it, you will see. And as a conclusion, we will a little bit touch future of digital accessibility. So let's start. And before we start, before I present to you our first speaker, which you already know, one of other two, please answer one question. And guys, can you please pull out the poll? Thank you. So have you ever dealt with any accessibility implementation requirements in your professional life? Whether it's yes, I always do it, or not always, or I know what it is, but never took part in implementation, or no, it's something super new. While you're voting, just want to tell you that it will be very helpful for us to understand how deep to dig into this topic, because accessibility is really a very, very wide topic. And we can spend, I don't know, we could make thousands of slides and spend hours talking about it. So let's see what we have here. So actually we have different types of accessibility related people. And I am very, very pleased to know that we have 7 people that really are dealing with accessibility all the time. I hope, guys, that you will find out something new today. If not, at least you will have fun. Okay, so let's go further. I'm trying to close the poll. I closed it. Okay, let's meet our first speaker. It's Roman Savka. He's an accessibility test engineer in SoftServe, and Roman has been working with accessibility for more than 3 years. And in fact, as a fun fact, in fact, Roman is much more in accessibility. And what is interesting is that he is a certified professional in core competencies of accessibility. So Roman, I pass my mic to you, and I will just list slides. Please, you're welcome to start.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to be here. And today we have an incredibly interesting and profound topic, web accessibility. So what it is? Web accessibility is a practice of making websites, tools, technologies usable by people with disabilities. So at first, let's clarify some basic definitions. And actually, that's the question, and that's the answer. Who are people with disabilities? So people with disabilities are those who... Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes,
sorry.
perfectly.
Oh, okay, sorry. So people with disabilities include those who have long-term physical, mental, intellectual, sensory impairments, which, with interaction with the various barriers, may hinder their full and effective participation in the society on the equal basis with others. So that's the definition from the United Nations organization, and perhaps the wording is a little bit complicated, so let's simplify it. That is, people with disabilities are those who, due to barriers in the digital and the physical world, cannot fully interact with them. In the world, there is a practice of categorizing disabilities into 5 main groups, into 5 main types. First, visual, next, auditory, mobility and physical impairments, cognitive impairments, and speech disabilities. Of course, this is not exhaustive list because disability can be visible for example, a person in a wheelchair, or it can be hidden, such as photosensitive epilepsy. Well, today, I would like to continue with the most precise language, the language of numbers. According to the World Health Organization, we have more than 16% people with disabilities. So that's the really huge number, more than 1.5 billion people around the world. For example, every fifth American lives with a disability. Every sixth European lives with a disability. And in the Middle East region, figure reaches 15%. Globally, 28% or 2.2 billion people have visual impairments, such as blindness, low vision, color blindness. 6.1% or 466 million people around the world are deaf or hard of hearing. 3.5% have mobility disabilities, and between 1-3% or around 200 million people have intellectual disability such as dyslexia, dyscalculia, math disorders, etc. Regarding to some investigations, the number of people with disabilities will increase to 30% by 2050s. So we need to take care about accessibility right now. Because due to natural disasters, wars, property, this number will only continue to grow. And the digital world opens up such opportunities to live in an inclusive society with equal rights, regardless of ability or disabilities. Nowadays, the internet is an essential part of people's lives, especially for individuals with disability. However, talking about web accessibility makes some people nervous, and they come with a list of objections, many of which are actually myths. Sometimes we hear that people with disabilities don't use laptops, computers, internet at all, but that's not true. On the contrary, they use it. With the help of modern digital technologies, people with disabilities can learn, find jobs, communicate, make purchases, and much more. On the other hand, sometimes people say that people with disabilities are the sizable minority, a small group. But as we could hear from the numbers, it's not such a small group. Over than 16% of the population has a disability. In my opinion, that's not such a small group after all. You know, nobody is immune to acquire a disability. Let me share a little piece of my story. When I was 23 years old, I had a small business, a girlfriend, drove a car, and in short, successful young man. But when I turned 24, I lost my sight and became legally blind. A tricky situation, isn't? The digital world is boundless, and thanks to assistive technologies that helps me adapt to my new condition, I found a job, made new friends, became an international accessibility expert, and so much more. I think all of you have probably heard the music of Stevie Wonder, are familiar with the astrophysicist Stephen Hawking, and heard or seen Nick Vujicic. Well, all of these stars are people with disabilities, and they make significant contribution into development of the humanity, despite the fact of disability. Well, let's talk a little bit about assistive features and technologies. Different types of people with disabilities use various assistive technologies, and there are countless options available. I'm sure that at times, even without realizing it, all of you use some of these technologies. I think you're all familiar with the lady called Siri, the voice-activated assistant on Apple devices. Well, Siri is based on voice recognition technology, which is often used by people, for example, with paralysis, as they rely on the voice input to interact with the web or mobile. And here is another scenario. Imagine you're in a noisy room with many people and you've forgotten your earphones, but still want to watch an interesting video. In such a situation, you might mute the sound and turn on subtitles or captions. And you can see the captions. You will see the captions, how it works a little bit later, but captions or subtitles are example of the accessible solution for the people who are deaf or hard of hearing, because that's the only way that they can perceive, understand audio content of the video. Cool, thank you. Well, I could go on and on about assistive technologies, but I don't want to be boring today. So let's get back to the numbers. Disability increase as we get older. It's no secret that we all age. Older people are more likely to have disabilities. Estimates range from 30 to 60% of the older population, comparing to the 10-20% of the population as a whole, have a disability. Often, we acquire multiple disabilities as a natural part of the aging process. Many of us lose our sight, our hearing, our mobility, or our recognition. Well, I have a short example, really life example. My grandmom is 89 years old now, and she's an active Facebook user, watching videos, reading news, putting likes, and so on. Our generation is even more attached to technologies. So by ensuring accessibility today, we are investing in our tomorrow. Accessibility is also beneficial for other groups. Those who use mobile devices, those who has a slow network connection, people with temporary or situational disabilities, limitations, etc. Software development team also uses accessibility features. I have been working as an accessibility QA engineer more than 3 years. Here at the SoftServe, my colleagues and I is trying to do our best to ensure that products, websites, services are made with accessibility in mind. So we prepare some video material. So please take a look into the video to be a little bit familiar with the assistive technologies and features, which is used, for example, by the people with visual disabilities.
Thank you, Roman, very much. Now, yes, let's watch the video. And actually, I am right now in a situation where I am a person with unstable internet connection. It's one of topics of accessibility. So I have to ask Victoria, would you please be so kind as to share us this video?
Of course, I will try. Just give me a second. So, can anybody see my screen?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, I'm starting it.
Hi all, my name is Roman and I'm a blind.
For me, as for more than a billion people around the world, accessibility of the physical and digital world is the fundamental requirement of daily life.
OTC, Magna B6, Forte, 100 milligrams Mg2 plus 10 milligrams, tablet Kipal.
There are lots of myths and misconceptions that people who are blind don't use computers and internet at all. But that's not true. I'm a blind person and I'm using specific assistive technology called screen reader. The screen reader converts me everything that you can see on the screen into synthetic speech or braille.
ITALIAMO, lime flavor and mascarpone, 923, serving suggestion.
Okay. 0 minutes, 1 second, 3 minutes, 8. Okay. Click or scroll the panel for the precise seeking. Slider seek to 0.
Wise men say.
Okay.
I can work, learn, hear music, make online purchases, and much more. Of course, if the web is designed with accessibility in mind. Accessibility drives innovation. Let's drive it together.
Okay.
Only fools rush in, but I can't help falling in love with you.
Okay.
Thank you,
Okay.
thank you, Victoria. Now, please give me back screen sharing.
Okay, thanks for your attention. From everything said above, we can understand that disability is not the problem. Accessibility is the problem. Accessibility is about people with disabilities, but not only. It has many benefits for everyone. And Victoria will tell us a little bit more about it. Victoria, please. The
It
mic
will
is
be
yours.
Anna first. Yes, I like to be between every
Okay.
speaker.
Oh, sorry. Please,
Thank
you're
you
welcome.
so much. Thank you so much, Roman. I really enjoyed everything what you did, and thank you very much for the video. And also thank to one special person who helped us with this video. It's my sister Lena. So you don't know her, but she really participated and really wanted to make it as good as possible. Okay, so let's go further and please meet our second speaker. It's Victoria Shiraeva. She's engineering manager in SoftServe of the Special Accessibility Department. Yes, we have a department. And Victoria is also really a lot of years in accessibility. 6 years, it's also a lot. So Victoria, I pass my mic to you and we'll be switching the slides whenever you say.
Okay, thank you, Anna, for the introduction, and Roman, thanks a lot for this inspiring overview. My name is Victoria, and I will continue from this place. And first, I'd like summarize a little bit what Roman just said. As I get it, Roman pointed his attention that first, people with disabilities are among us, and we should care about them because that's just right. And second, as I've heard it, 1 of 5 people, like 1 in 5, has some form of disability. So this partially covers the ethical and the business aspect of accessibility, because like ignoring 1 of 5 people is bad for business, right, Roman?
Yeah, sure. You're right.
Yeah.
Well, as we could hear from the numbers, yeah, more than 1.5 billion people, and all of them are actually your potential customers.
Yeah.
So
So I'd like to talk more about the importance of accessibility, but before I tell you my reasons why is it important, I want to get your opinion on this. Anna, please switch next slide. Here's the question. How do you think, what is the main reason clients decide to improve the accessibility of their products? Is this because of the business drivers, legal drivers, or moral, ethical reasons? So please type in your answers maybe in the chat, and let's see what's your opinion on this. So some people say it's business drivers, some people say it's legal drivers. Some people think it's all three. Yeah, and you know, partially I agree that it's all three. And the answer I would like to share with you today, it's not like a single right answer to this question. It's just like my experience from my own work with clients dealing with accessibility. Yeah, people say that the main reason is legal, and said smiley, and I understand your pain. So actually, from my own experience, the correct answer is legal drivers. As a manager of accessibility service at SoftServe, I deal with customers that need accessibility almost every day. And I must admit that 100% of those customers came to us for our help with accessibility improvements just because of the legal obligations. So that doesn't mean that business drivers and the other reasons are not important. It's just my own experience while working with SoftServe customers, and I guess that you might face the same experience if you continue working as a BA. So I suggest that we switch to next slide. And now you know that besides ethical and aspects, there are business drivers and legal drivers, and we will go through each one of them. But I will start from this important legal aspect because this is what really drives our clients. Next slide. What do I mean by legal obligations? You know, there are laws across countries that require products to be accessible. In fact, each country, even those that are not listed here, has its own laws requiring digital products to be accessible. But there's something common between all of those laws. While laws demand products to be accessible, the way how to make them accessible is described within one document, which is called Web Content Accessibility Guidelines. So this guideline is international document, and in other words, laws require products to be accessible, and they refer to this Web Content Accessibility Guideline to tell how to do this. And which industries are impacted, you may ask? Like, how do you know if your product has these accessibility requirements or not? Next slide, please. So I would say lots of industries are impacted because accessibility requirements affect public sector, governmental sector, and accessibility is not only about B2C, like business to customer types of products, also business to business is obliged to have accessible products as well. If you ask about the specific industries, the top 5, I would name them as it is on the slide: retail, healthcare, finance and banking, education, and tech. Let's move on and find out more interesting facts about these legal obligations. So since there are laws and some companies fail to comply to these requirements, as a result, there are accessibility lawsuits. And as we can see from current slide, there's a table showing that the number of lawsuits related to accessibility grow from year to year, and like in the last 4 years, the number of accessibility lawsuits grows by 12 or 13% each year. Let's review with you the most interesting cases on accessibility lawsuits. Next slide. The most known case, and sorry if you already know this, is a Netflix case, Netflix versus National Association of Deaf. So Netflix had to pay about $800,000, and they because their videos and streaming services were lacking closed captions, and they were also obliged not only to pay this fee, they also were obliged to fix this accessibility issue. So now, after they fixed it, not only deaf people benefit from it, but for example, those of you who like to learn foreign languages and watch episodes with those closed captions, they benefit from those closed captions. Other interesting cases is, for example, next slide, Target. Target is an online grocery store. It had to pay $6 million to the National Federation of Blind. They not only paid this tremendous amount of money, they also had to fix their website to be accessible, and they were also obliged to allow the National Federation of Blind to monitor their website for accessibility during 3 years. So it was a tough one. And also Harvard University was sued for accessibility with the same reason like Netflix, because of their closed captions were not even detailed enough. That's why Harvard University needed to pay like $1.5 million. And by the way, in 2023, there are some pending cases with known companies like Amazon.com and the New York Times, and their products fail some accessibility requirements. So I'm really wondering how these cases will resolve. And now let's talk on more, besides those legal aspects, legal drivers to make products accessible. What are other reasons to make products accessible? First, increase market reach. Next slide, please, Anna. So we discussed this a little bit. So by making your product accessible, you are opening your business to more than 1 billion potential customers. That's insane. Like the Tesco, also an online grocery store, the Tesco example shows that how making their website accessible affected their revenue growth. And I think it's impressive. Next slide. The competitive advantage. So there's a company called WebAIM, and it published a report where they told that approximately 96% of world's websites fail basic accessibility requirements. So if you make your product accessible, you gain the competitive advantage. You become one of 4%. Like it's very nice, like to be one of those 4% who have accessibility and are open to such a wide audience. Next slide, please. So accidentally or not, but better accessibility improves your product's popularity with search engines. So, I mean, when you improve accessibility, you also improve search engine optimization. So on the charts, on these small charts on the slide, you can see one of SoftServe's examples when we worked for a customer and tried to improve accessibility for them. We also noticed that search engine optimization index growth like to 100%, and this is like our real life example. And this happens because actually accessibility and search engine optimization use the same common techniques like descriptive page titles, headings, clear navigation, sitemaps, breadcrumbs, alternative texts for the images, improved readability, and so on. So these are common techniques for both accessibility and search engine optimization. And one more slide demonstrates that one of the benefits of accessibility is unlocking new business opportunities. So here at SoftServe, we had a customer and they couldn't sell their product to government because it was inaccessible. And like multi-million contract was blocked because of these accessibility issues. And that's when accessibility became a huge priority for that customer. That's how, like, when we improved accessibility, the contracts were unlocked, and that's why I put that accessibility helps unlocking new business opportunities, because you can sell your product to wider audience, even if it's B2B. So I hope now you know that accessibility is really important, but what are the main accessibility challenges? It's like my own information and my own perception. So for me, the main three challenges are underestimated importance of accessibility, underestimated effort. Almost always people think that it's some small thing, but it comes up as a large thing. And accessibility is usually initiated too late in the process. Let me tell you a story about one company. So in 2016, we had a customer who has a large business solution, and they planned to improve accessibility in 3 months. So 3 months. In fact, it took 1.5 years. And accessibility work is still ongoing for that customer. So that's a surprise. Why? Because, next slide, you cannot add accessibility as some kind of feature in the end. It cannot be, again, accessibility is not a feature that you just can add in the end of the release cycle. Next slide. Accessibility should be part of the process, just like other testing types. It should, easy as it is, you can implement any component or page or some functionality, and you can implement it as accessible from scratch or not. And you better choose this first option. You better do it accessible from the beginning. And the second point to remember, accessibility is everyone's responsibility. Literally, everyone should understand accessibility requirements and understand their own role in accessibility. So managers should prioritize accessibility for a team. Business analysts should produce requirements for accessible software. The designer should produce designs and mock-ups that do not fail accessibility requirements, because it's really wrong. And developers and QA, they should know the specific accessibility requirements. I mean, they should know web content accessibility guidelines. And this is one of the key takeaways from this session. I just recommend everyone to read the Web Content Accessibility Guideline at least once. And developers and QA should know it very well, and they should know and use the sufficient techniques. The content creators should also produce the content that is accessible, like for example, if they produce images, they should also provide alternative texts. So let's see how it usually happens with most of our clients on next slide. Usually we have a software development life cycle, and we are really focused on some functionality. And in the end, there's a plan to add accessibility if the budget and schedule allows. And in fact, in the end, it is really complicated to introduce accessibility changes, because very often accessibility requires redesign, rework, and it becomes so costly that the decision should be made if it's gonna be accessible or not at all. So it usually happens like that, but let's consider the opposite situation. On the next slide, if the accessibility is taken care of from the project planning phase, it's taken into account during the design creation, and design is assessed for any accessibility gaps. If it's taken into account by developers and automated testing, and if QA test for accessibility while they test everything else, then in the end we receive an accessible product. And in such case, when the product becomes accessible, you just avoid that burden of dealing with some third-party companies providing you the accessibility audits or accessibility trainings or stuff like that. You just avoid any financial, legal risks, fines, and so on. You just have an accessible product because the product is built like by best practices from the very beginning. So one more slide demonstrates key points of successful integration of accessibility into agile processes. And I've divided this into 4 steps. First step, education. I think education is crucial for all company levels. As I mentioned, management, software engineers, and etc. Everyone should understand their role and responsibility, and they should perform like their roles and not forget about accessibility. Second, if you have a definition of done described on your project, it would be really nice to include the accessibility to this like definition of done description. Then third point, accessibility is really dependent on the design. Like design has a huge impact on accessibility. So I would say the strong UX designer skills with accessibility knowledge has like a large impact. And the last point, accessibility subject matter experts are really important for any project. And it doesn't matter if it's some invited expert from third party, or maybe it's your team member who just investigated the accessibility in more detail. It's good to have this expert's knowledge for consulting during some important milestones, deliverables, and etc. And okay, the last slide from me. The main takeaways I want you to take from my speech. First, accessibility is not a feature that you can add in the end. Accessibility should be made a part of the process, part of the software development lifecycle, just as QA or, I don't know, technical writing, it should be just part of the process. And you should motivate your client to think proactively and to include accessibility as early as possible. The sooner you start accessibility journey, the better is for you and for your client and for your product, because the side effects of accessibility are amazing. You are secure your client from legal risks, you extend your market reach, you gain the competitive advantage, and you boost your brand reputation and everything nice. So now my colleague Anna will tell you even more about the role of the BA in accessibility.
Thank you, Victoria. I will start my video so that you can see me. If something goes on with the sound, then just please let me know and I will turn the video off. So, hi everybody. I'm speaker number 3. My name is Anna Khomutova. I'm a business analyst at SoftServe, and also I'm a web accessibility expert. I've been dealing with accessibility for 3 years, and 2 of 3 years I'm an expert. And if you noticed, my certification is a little bit different. This badge is different from what Roma has. It's because we deal with slightly different fields. I accept everything else. I also can go to code and help the guys, the developers, to make it the best way. Why I need it, I don't know, but it helped me in my professional life, and I will also share one example with you. So let's go. We will start with the role of business analyst in creation of accessible products. And I want to start from the definition itself. Accessibility is a non-functional requirement. It's a requirement, which means that whether we want it or not, we will have to deal with it. And who gathers the requirements? Business analyst. Who manages backlog? Also business analyst. So all this fun stuff we do as our role, we will have to do within the accessibility features and all the functionality. And officially, the World Wide Web Organization that actually created that WCAG, Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, thinks, and I think it's normal, that BA participates in concept, requirements, and design. But I would like to add something from me. It's all based on my story and story of other analysts I know who had to deal with accessibility. Yes, we do more, of course, because creation of requirements, working together with UX is one side. But as far as BA is that spot on the map that has access to different stakeholders, that has access to both business and team and management. This is actually the very correct role to control all this thing, because we have this overall picture. We can compare what guidelines demand with what business wants. We can work with accessibility specialists, because they will consult us. They won't just create backlog instead of us. I think that important information here would be that the vast majority of experts I've seen in my life, not all of them, but a lot, are actually testers. They are test engineers. And this is very good when you already have a product. And what you have to do is just to find an expert who can test it, who can do this check, which I will show you later. And of course, even deeper checks, because we will not be able to go through all of it today. We don't have 30 hours. But when it's a new product and when you have to created with accessibility in mind. In this case, testers that create defects based on whether something violates or doesn't violate WCAG will not create user stories. This person will consult you, will help you, but still you will have to deal with the backlog, to manage it, to have it all together, to see how much is done, to see how much is not done, and also dependent on your domain which you work in. You will have to find some compromise between business and accessibility part, because sometimes the application is so big, so complicated, and as my example, just in one of a million examples, I worked in healthcare, and healthcare product demand a lot of interesting features and a lot of ways of working by a particular user with this application or with this module. So it wasn't that easy to just say that now I want to make it all purple, for example. So we also will have to deal with it. Sometimes it's difficult, sometimes it's not. But every other project with accessibility just makes it all clearer. And thanks to the progress, I can see it within years, that every year we have more and more information about it. We have more and more places to go to check, to understand something, to ask. It becomes easier and easier. And as I can see, it's very soon when we will be able to have checklists in every project to quickly understand what we can cover. Also, what's on this slide, I didn't mention it. It's again our processes. According to definition of done business analyst, as far as business analysts created the requirements, also will approve this user story or this any functionality before showing to the customer. So we cannot avoid this as well. And help with estimation may sound super loud, but I have a second slide which is devoted to actually this topic. And before that, I would like to share my story that is related to the opinion underneath in this slide, that when a product person is an accessibility expert, effectiveness is the highest. Again, my own history, when I was already an expert, being a business analyst again, and plus to that, as far as I'm a product person and I have spent some time on this particular project, I'm a subject matter expert. And we had this request to make one module of our application accessible, like additionally. I did it before and we had to do it. We didn't have UX. We didn't have anybody else except me. And but we had a team. This team wasn't like super dedicated to it because they heard somewhere how it is done, but they have never touched it in reality in their project. So we had only me and the team, and we didn't need anybody else, because being a product person and plus an accessibility expert, I just tested it all by myself. I just found all the violations. I pointed to additional features that may be I would say must, but it's for prioritization of the client. And I helped developers whenever they felt any troubles with a realization of what I wanted. So it's like a perfect case, of course, but it was just one step. Just a business analyst got this expertise and became a certified expert, and it just simplified it all. So now let's talk about this estimation thing. Yeah, I will be talking not about just ongoing estimation. We all have this poker. No, I will talk about actual situations, and this is like a checklist you can take and maybe check, I don't know, whenever you will have a case. And the case is, I know a lot of them, is when actually client decides to make the application accessible, decides to stick to these guidelines. And the first the client will do, the client will come to us and say that, please let me know how much it will cost to make it accessible. And usually it's a business analyst and architect, not even a UX designer, not even any designer involved. Usually there are two people. If there is no architect, there may be some technical lead. But anyway, it will be somebody from business, somebody from tech, some really high positions, I mean, and we'll have to deal with it. So let me just share a quick, not very short, but it can be longer, checklist of what to do in this situation. First, you see this bold letters, call for accessibility expert if available. Of course, if you have some service within your company, or you know how to reach some expert, or maybe ask the client, maybe client has an expert. Of course, it's better to go to expert. Like at SoftServe, we can do it because we have accessibility team, this service, and we can do and ask for assistance. But this thing with cost will still be yours, and usually it's the first step. Usually, well, you already do have application, and you know you have history of how much it actually you spent for creation of this product. Then you can say that plus minus the minimum is 5%, and it's minimum. I also would like to share with you that 5%, it's an official number from the key organization, and 5% is when you really, guys, when you have just simple sites and you have super dedicated team and you don't have to do much there. Usually it's 25 to 35. Again, maybe more, because it all depends on what domain you work in, what your product is. It may be super complicated. It may be complicated, but accessibility can make it easier. So it always depends. So I would suggest at least 15. But official number, which I cannot avoid, it's 5%, like it's super minimum. Then what you have to also to account is cost of evaluation tools and assistive technologies. To check all of these things, to check whether we did everything correctly, to do it officially, you will have to have, the project will have to have licenses, at least for assistive technologies, like that screen reader, for example. It's like the main and obvious thing you must have. And not all of them are first compatible with your browser, for example. Not all of them, like not all of them can read whatever is not web, if it's desktop application. And not all of them are approved. In fact, of course, if it developed ideally, just so super ideally, it may be so that any assistive technology actually will read it correctly, will communicate with it correctly. But usually there are differences. That's why, depending on your project, depending on your client, I mean, not you, that your managers will have to, and client as well, will have to know that probably some money will have to be spent on assistive technologies and evaluation tools. We had, I guess it's the most expensive one. It's very cool, very, very sufficient, but it's expensive. And license is not forever, it's for 3 months, but it was a good one. Then what you probably will be asked, or even not, when you will go to this VCAC and look, if you will have to do it by yourself, just a tip that usually level of conformance is AA. I won't stop at this level of conformance topic because, again, we don't have that much time, and I just had to deal with the fact that I have to pick something to show today, and something will be just, I don't know, bonus information. So there are level of conformances. They are A, like one big A, capital letter AA, which is here on this slide, and AAA. And just to distinguish them really fast, A is a little bit accessible, AA is normally accessible, and AAA is super accessible for everybody. So usually it's AA officially. And let's go to the next one. Also, this is actually what Victoria already told us today, but just to emphasize it once again, that accessibility, if we are going to implement it, needs process. It's very important. And moreover, it should be in all the processes, parts of processes, types of processes, and all the commitments, like the different test strategy, for example, maybe some checklists. Again, management must understand that processes must be changed, and every sub-team also must understand that they will have changes, and this process must be created. And I hope that it's very simple, but at first it wasn't for us, but now, of course, just we already know what to do. Also, Victoria also told about it, but as far as we are in estimation right now, in this initial estimation, everything that's relevant is here on this slide. So dedicated team, you should think about this team. The team must be aware. Developers, quality control guys, they must be aware of what accessibility is. They must be able to create the correct components, to test them correctly, and to have correct outputs. Also, WCAG is here again. It's the guidelines that are official, international, and you will have to, you will deal with them. It's not that have to, you will want to. So you can check already existing functionality using the rules. Or if it's new functionality, you just from the very beginning, add all those rules, add what's in guidelines to your every new component. It's not only UI component, to everything that you create, including different features. Just a reminder that even though accessibility is non-functional requirement, sometimes it leads to a very functional features because they are needed. Also, it's important and it's very good if you have UX designer. And if you don't have on this estimation part, you must tell them that we will need UX. If you want accessible application, we will need UX. And awareness in accessibility is essential. I already told you that in previous slide, but just to tell it once again. Awareness is essential. Without awareness, we will not be able to understand what we will need to develop and, of course, to estimate. I hope this information is useful. I hope that it will be very easy, and I hope that within time it will become easier and easier for everybody all over the world. So let's go further. I will show you really quick accessibility check. And this is just steps. If you need to understand whether your product accessible or not, these are just quick steps that everybody can do. You don't have to have specific technologies here. You don't have to.
Sorry for interrupting you. So I noticed we already have some questions in Q&A box, and do we plan dedicating some time in the end for those questions, or are we making a pause and answering the question?
We do plan to dedicate some time in the end.
Okay. Sorry.
Okay. Okay, so quick accessibility check. When you need to check your product for accessibility, what you do? First, you check page titles. It's easy to understand that every title of every page is adequate, is not very long, and that it corresponds to what business wants, and that it describes normally what will be within this page. So the next, you check the basic structure. Structure is very important for assistive technologies because screen reader will go through the structure. It won't go just what is on the page, as you can see. The screen reader doesn't see it. It just goes through the structure. And like a tips, you will see at every slide, you will see tips. I will not tell about them all, just for you to be aware because of time limits. So you turn off the images to understand whether they have text alternatives. You turn off different styles to understand whether this exactly is some type of text which is in some container and this is in the structure, or it just like drawn as this type of structure. And after you do this, and of course, what to check for, I like this part, that you check that all information makes sense when you read in the order as it's shown, because it's also a requirement. People must, for people, it must be easy and understandable to go through the structure. And then it's also related to the previous one, but officially it's a separate one. It's headings. And here it's like this screenshot is from Confluence, and I guess we all met Confluence at least once or saw it somewhere, even if we did not operate it. Yeah, so in Confluence, you will see all these different headings, and when you add table of contents, content to the, I don't know, to whatever you want on this page, this table of content will actually read these headings, will relate to them, because structure is important, and it's like very important to understand. And of course, the hierarchy must be meaningful. We understand what it's a bigger heading, the smaller heading, when it's just simple text, not heading. They must be organized meaningfully, not just, I don't know, thrown over the page. The next one is check images for text alternatives. Here you will need screen reader, or just as one of the example, just can turn them off to see text alternatives. So there are different, again, I don't want to be boring. Let's do the fun part. So you check whether the icons, for example, here it's an example, an icon of magnifying glass. When you name something that is a picture, an icon that is visual, not textual, and you want to name it, and it has any function underneath, like in this case, it's a search, and when you go there, you will open some search. And it is very viable and very relevant to call it search, not magnifying glass, because a user that will not see, will not understand what it means, like magnifying glass. Okay, thank you, I will go further. But if it's search, user will understand that a search will be activated by this icon. The next one is the most famous one is color contrast. It's that all the colors must contrast with each other. Why? Because different people see the world differently, which means that they see your application also differently. And there is a rule, black and white. It's called, when you, of course, you probably have your application in color, turn off the colors and check whether you still understand everything that is there, because it's very often a case when color is the only one distinguisher, especially when you have diagrams, some explanations, tables, when you have to do something visually. In this case, there may be a mistake that color, in fact, cannot be only one distinguisher, as well as shape and as well as location somewhere. There are more of them, and there are better ways to distinguish one from another. Actually, just a short story. Once I participated in one webinar from DECU, and they showed different examples and asked the people that are on this webinar, that one at this very moment, to show or where is a triangle, a green triangle. And not all of the people could distinguish triangle. It may sound odd, but in fact, it's not that obvious. I understand that maybe it's like, who don't understand what triangle is, but this happens. So here I put pictures of two very, very famous ways to check where your color contrast fails. It's Andy. It's a good one for web. It shows everything that fails, everything that doesn't. But color contrast analyzer, you can see it looks a little bit worse, and you have to download it. But color contrast analyzer is capable of checking contrast everywhere, and it's approved. Again, of course, it's not that fast, but again, when you think about what to use, it must be, you just should go and see the actual list at that moment of approved technologies. I know examples when a very good tool, Figma, showed UX designers that the contrast is good, but when experts then tested it with color contrast analyzer, it was not good. So even Figma we cannot trust, even though it's a very, very good tool. So let's go further. Then you resize text. If you have texts anywhere, you resize them. Just zoom it in, try to do something with it, something crazy maybe. But anyway, what we should not see here, like what we should see, there is part of guidelines, and it's not so easy. But what we should not see is this. It's a real example. I don't remember when I took it. I just did it to the first slide. To the first site I found, did it and took a picture of it. This is what you don't want when it overlaps, when text doesn't change, when texts don't fit anymore in this where it is in that component where the text is, as it's not visible, it's not usable. So this is what we don't want to, and it's fixed. Everything may be fixed. It's not that hard. It's just for you. It's good to understand that this is how it's not supposed to be. And guys, we need to rework it and make it normally. Then a very important part, it's keyboard access and visual focus. Here is an example of two components. It's two like drop downs, and one of them is in focus. As you can see, that you can see which one is in focus. This is very important. When a user navigates through components with, and it's also important that mouse is a side. We do everything with keyboard. When user navigates through components, user can see where they are at this very component. User can see different states, like whether it's, well, sometimes it's like very fancy way, but when it's in focus, when it's selected, when it's disabled, can it go in focus or not? All of this is negotiable. Very interesting topic. It actually is fun. This one is fun. I love it. What you, here you will have to check every component. Now you will be able to use tab to navigate to every component that you want to navigate to, because some maybe you don't, these are just text boxes and you don't want to navigate to them. Again, it's negotiable with business ones. Then what's important, you need to tab away, because keyboard trap is a very, very widespread thing when you can navigate somewhere, but you cannot go out. And it also is, inconvenient. So you have to go in, you have to go out. The visual focus, the order. I think every slide is about the order, normal, understandable order of where you go. And there is a rule, top to bottom, left to right. So you go like this. And variation may be possible, but again, if it's needed. If you need it. And let's go further. So here you will have to tap to everything to check whether everything is okay. If you don't, if you cannot navigate to something, or you can, but you don't understand where, then you will just tell it, it will be something that needs to be fixed. And also, this is a good thing here to turn off, to turn on, sorry, to turn on, we don't turn off anything, to turn on a screen reader, because every label must be read. Like if I'm in the drop down that's called select your cat, the system must tell me, select your cat, drop down. So I need to understand, because I don't see, so I need to understand what is there. Then the next part is super widespread and super important. I don't have a lot of time to talk to it. It's a topic that takes projects, I don't know, months maybe, to come to conclusions and to make it really ideal, because it's a matter of not only understandability and also consistency. So let me tell you a couple of words about it. If you have any forms in your applications that users have to fill in, that you need to do the second things. Of course, keyboard access, I'm not talking about it like anymore, but a user plus to that must navigate to everything. User will add something there. So what we do first, we explain by legends, but by any information icons that, again, variations are possible, what to do in this form. Then it's very important, we do everything that we can to prevent user from making a mistake, because showing mistakes like this, that you need to do this, you need to do this, is good, but the best way is that user is never disappointed. Like user can add anything to any form from the first attempt and won't have to do it once again. But if some error occurred, I mean, from user side, some mistake, not system error. In this case, there must be, again, adequate explanation of what you did wrong. And what is very important is how to fix it. Not just it's wrong, but how to fix it, what to do. Like here, please provide a name. Please provide anything else. Agree, so that user understands what to do here. And even if systems are not intended to be accessible, this question of consistency arises very, very, very often, because in one module you will see that this one, for example, I don't know, this field was obligatory, but you didn't add anything there. It tells you that it's an obligatory field. In the next one, it will tell you, please provide a name. In something else, it will tell you, provide a name without please, or obligatory field. So it's inconsistency, and it also distracts people, because as far as we remember, cognitive disabilities is one of type of disabilities, and it's not fun, and it may impact the will of a particular user to use your application. Okay, so let's go further. It's moving, blinking, flashing content. This is also important. If you have any flash messages or any carousels or anything that is changing or blinking, you have to deal with a special part of WCAG, because it's very important. I don't know whether everybody or just some of us, nobody knows this. I will tell you just a short story. Everybody loves Pokemons, and a lot of children and grown-ups watched them. And there was one episode when Pikachu blinks so fast and bright, and there's so much color there that it just led to seizures, to strokes of like super a lot of children, because it's very famous. So we have to, if we don't want our users to go to application and then just break apart, so we have to deal with it as well. The next one is when we have multimedia. Alternatives. Remember when Roman showed us his cool movie, we had captions. And in our area, actually, in Ukraine, it's known as subtitles, but they officially, they're captions. And for everybody who had to turn the sound on within this video, within the time of this video, or just it was silent for you, you could just read at the screen what Roman was talking about. But also, plus to that, there are requirements. So you need to navigate to it with your keyboard. You need to be able to turn it on, turn it off, to skip it, and so on. So there is, again, a separate part of guidelines which you can search for, where you can search for interesting answers to your questions. So this was the quick accessibility check. It's like super quick, what you can do just quickly, and what you can do by yourself or as a team, and no special assistance is needed. Of course, the topic is deeper, but sometimes this is enough. So just to understand why we are doing it. We are doing this check, and everything that the WCAG is about for accessibility principles. Why I did not start with them? Because truly speaking, from what we can see here officially, it's not that easy to understand what they want. So it was better to go through this check first. So perceivable, operable, understandable, and robust. Actually, this is what we went through. User must be able to perceive what is on the screen, what is within the system, must to operate with it. It means to change everything user wants, to go wherever user wants, understand what's going on, very well understand. And robust is a technical part, is that in fact the team must, not the team, but just every component must be done as well, that no matter what agent, no matter what technology deals with it, it will be able to understand it and to interact with it. So it's important, and this is what is like distinguishes accessibility and not doesn't let to tell that it's just some design thing. No, it's deeper, and as you can see, the guys in their guidelines do everything to help people with disabilities interact with different applications. And the last slide is future of digital accessibility. I want you to look at it because actually I think that it's a good example of how it shouldn't be. I just left it like this. I went to this word cloud because I wanted to just enter the most popular directions and what we are going to. And this is what it returned to me. And it actually, I just put it like this just to show you that colors are here. Everything is different in different places. Good font. We have numbers, but just to understand it, you need explanation. So let's still talk. I will still tell you about future of digital accessibility, and I will start with the numbers. So 6.9 trillion, it's like almost $7 trillion is that market of what I as an enterprise possibly didn't get because my application, my product wasn't accessible. And people who were ready to pay for this, to pay for this interaction, were not able to do this. So this is 7 trillion, and I'm pretty sure that there are a lot of enterprises and a lot of businesses that started taking something from that by making their products accessible. Also, I wanted to tell you once again about older people. I know Roman has already told about it. The population gets older, and this is good. And for in digital world, users also get older. And according to official numbers, 11.5% is the percent of overall lifespan that people over 70 spend with this or that kind of disability. And people over 70 also want to deal with different digital products. They do it right now. They do it very actively. It's not like, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago when your grandma told that she did not understand what is in this computer thing. Now they understand it very well. And we, when we get older, we also will understand it perfectly. I have several friends that have like a dream, and they tell that when I grow old, I will just be sitting home and playing video games all the time. So for them, also some technologies will be needed, and I will join them because I think it's a very, very good thing to do. Also, let's just remember, because this topic is everybody's familiar with, just realize what artificial intelligence does right now, like in this very year, and what is it capable of. So all the chatbots and virtual assistant that actually were at first intended for people with disabilities. And you will be very surprised when you just go and read about how many actually products we all use were intended for people with disabilities first. I know, as an example, non-driver car for people with disabilities. So, and a lot of everything. And what is more interesting is that some technologies that were not intended to them can be used to improve all this communication of people with disabilities with different product, including digital. So this is still growing. We cannot say that chatbot has come to its capacity, to its like limit capacity. No, it looks like it's just the beginning. So we are waiting for to look at what it will lead to. Also, government regulation. Again, this is not going anywhere. Every country does have something about it, and countries keep developing regulation for more and more products that exist within that country or that region. And currently, for example, the Middle East is like working on this regulation part. It's not a very fast process, but anyway, it's not that long. So every day, accessibility becomes more and more important. And also the trend right now, yes, like what I want to say as conclusion is that if previously we were always talking about that people with disabilities must have access to this application, and also they maybe it must be usable for them. So we just treated people with disabilities like somebody who can benefit from it, and it's good. But now the world is talking about total equality, about making digital world as cool and as usable by everybody, like for all sorts of people, that it will lead to the world where in digital world everybody is equal and can do a lot of cool things. And in digital world, we want understand who has disability, who doesn't have disability, who is 70 and who is 15, which I think is a very, very good way to start new era and to finish this presentation. Thank you.
Hey, thanks a lot, Anna and the team, Victoria and Roman. So I guess it's time to answer some questions. Would you like to read them on your own, or do you want me to read it for you?
I have already familiarized with some of those questions, and I'm ready to answer.
Cool.
So let's start from the first one. Based on your experience, how would you advise convincing a client to design with accessibility in mind if they are against spending money on it? So basically, the answer will depend on the type of customer and his industry and the type of his product. If it's a customer who falls under legal requirements, then it's easy because you just need to show him that this is a legal requirement, that he has a legal risk, and avoiding accessible design introduces lots of risks and financial obligations for this customer. These design issues are very easily detectable by accessibility checkers. Anna mentioned about them. So there's a risk that customer might face a lawsuit. And if the customer does not fall under legal requirements, he or she still may be convinced to make design accessible because first thing, accessibility is beneficial for everyone. Accessible design is easy to use, intuitive, simple, and etc. Second, introducing accessible design is cheap if you do this in the design phase. So it becomes more expensive later. So you may treat this as a good investment. And the third point, you may point that if you avoid accessibility now, you may introduce issues in the future. For example, if the client will want to scale his product, but building with accessibility in mind could prevent expensive updates in the future. Or any other benefits that I talked about today can be listed to the customer. Okay, and the second question, tell us more about the accessibility department at SoftServe. Okay, so we have a small team and we try to process most of the accessibility requests of SoftServe customers. Usually our assignments are short term, and the main services we provide are accessibility audits, different types of those audits, created accessibility conformance reports, accessibility education, accessibility design, and consulting, and so on. If you are interested in something more specifically, please add another question. We also have one question from YouTube broadcast, and the person says, I'm in favor of making all products accessible, and this is the right and legal thing to do. Most IT people nowadays know about Americans with Disabilities Act, Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, and potential lawsuits and fines. However, in one of my discovery sessions, I was asked by a project sponsor about the cost of making the web app fully accessible. He also said that based on his vast experience, a fully accessible web product is from 10 to 20% more expensive. And the question is the following: do you have any statistics or a guess on how much more percentage of effort is needed to make the web app fully accessible? So Anna has partially answered to this question, and I would say there's no like silver bullet response. It's actually a great question because the cost of making a web app fully accessible depends on various factors like product complexity, current state of accessibility, and timing when you decide to integrate accessibility into your development lifecycle. In my experience, if you incorporate accessibility from the very beginning of the project, it may add like from 1 to 5, I don't know, maybe 3 in average percent to the cost. So it's relatively cheap and easy. But if you already have a product that has been built, the costs may rise to 10 or 20%, as your sponsor mentioned, or even more. I don't know if it's like a large business solution, like in one of the examples I discussed before. So the key takeaway is timing. The earlier you consider accessibility, the better is for you and for your customer, and the less expensive and time-consuming it is. And we also have requests to, is the screen reader a real device or just a software? It's a software. Roman, do you want to answer?
Yeah, sure. Screen reader is a specific software. For example, the screen reader that you heard in the video, that's NVDA screen reader. It's free, so you can download it and try to use it. For example, open your, just a second, that's the screen reader for the Windows. So you can download it and try to use your website, your favorite website with the screen reader. Also, as Anna mentioned, you can buy screen readers. For example, JAWS screen readers, you need to buy a license for this screen reader, and it's really a little bit expensive. So also we have, for example, on mobile phones, we have screen reader that are included into operating system. For Android, the screen reader is called Talkback, and for Apple devices, the screen reader is called VoiceOver. So you can find it, for example, on, if you have iPhone, for example, you can find it in accessibility settings, and then next point, vision, And there you can find the voiceover screen reader, which is already included into the system.
Okay, thank you, Roman. Yeah, we have more questions. So how can businesses effectively integrate web accessibility into their digital strategies? And what are the tangible benefits they can expect to achieve in terms of user engagement and inclusivity? So we actually had a slide on this about integrating web accessibility into software development lifecycle. But to summarize what was said, we recommend finding an accessibility expert and involve him to the team, then provide education to all team, including to all company levels, included management, engineering teams, designers, BAs, and everyone who you have on your project. And you really need to switch teams mindset towards accessibility. So they should accept that from now on, accessibility is like an integral part of the process. They need to learn the web content accessibility guidelines, especially the developers, the QA, and the designers should also be aware of accessibility requirements when designing their mockups and designs. And what are the tangible benefits in terms of user engagement? So you extend your market reach, your product becomes accessible to a larger number of potential customers, and you also gain the customer loyalty, because usually people with disabilities, they have friends and families, and if some products is accessible to them, they become real, how do you say, ambassadors of the product. And yeah, so you gain really a great competitive advantage. And I hope that, not sure if we can cover everything. Situation: you are PM working on a tech company that is about to launch a new e-learning platform. The platform aims to provide educational resources to a diverse audience, including people with disabilities. Question: Is the context of our new e-learning platform, in the context of our new e-learning platform, how we can ensure the web accessibility to accommodate users with various disabilities? And what best practices should our development team follow to create an inclusive learning environment for everyone? So basically, this is the same question that is asked by e-learning team at SoftServe. Inclusivity in e-learning platforms is a really deep topic. I don't know, maybe Roman or Anna can help, because
yeah, you know, about the platform, it depends. Well, actually, the accessibility depends here when we start to implement this accessibility, because I have different experience. I work with some educational platforms and very large platforms, which are widely used by people around the world. So, and internal platforms. So it depends, of course, of the platform, what stage at what stage the accessibility was implemented or it is not implemented. So also it depends on the content of the platform, because we have different content and
media,
yeah, like time-based media, like non-textual content. So here is important everything. So ensure that your non-text content has alternatives. like Anya told us before. Ensure that your content is structured well using headings, lists, landmarks, etc. Ensure that you present your information using not the color alone, to convey information by the text and other things.
The
So
alternative
yeah.
versions of the content.
Provide alternatives for the time-based media, such as audio descriptions and captions, text transcript, etc. Make your content understandable for everyone, not only for the people with disabilities, but by everyone, because you know, accessibility is the part of usability, and accessibility increase usability. So when your product is accessible, or your platform is accessible, is usable by everyone, and it's really cool. So also provide additional time for some people, because some people with the cognitive disabilities need extended time to accomplish the tasks. There are a lot of things, and I could go on and on about this, but yeah, the learning platforms should be accessible by everyone, because, as I mentioned before, people with disabilities in the digital world, because the digital world is boundless, so they can learn. Yeah, they can acquire new knowledge. So, and it's really important, because here in the digital world, regardless of abilities or disability, we can make everything. Yeah, and
Thank
we
you,
can
Roman.
use everything.
Let's try to answer one more question, and maybe you will help me with this one also. Where can an average user find a reliable information to learn more about web accessibility? Are there recommended websites or organizations that provide easy to understand resources on the importance and methods of web accessibility? So from my perspective, I would recommend reading the web content accessibility guidelines. It's not so easy to read, not so entertaining, but it's like the most reliable source of information. But since Roman has recently prepared for his certification, maybe he could recommend something that is more I don't know, user-friendly.
Yeah, For example, the Q University, I really love this platform, because they have
Maybe you could recommend some free resources.
free resources. Yeah, it's I didn't have a chance to finish, but yeah, the Q is cool platform, but you should buy membership there to use their content. Of course, a lot of information you can find on W3C, because that's the official website of the accessibility around the world. So there are a lot of initiatives like Web Accessibility Initiative, and this initiative contains a lot of information, not only WCAG as the only one standard, because yeah, that's the really international standard with the main goal to share single standard for web accessibility. But you can find there attack, authoring tools, accessibility guideline, which is used by developers around the world. Another standard which is called user agents accessibility guidelines.
Let's focus on web content accessibility guidelines, because you know it's a webinar for BA and we should care about
So yeah, take a look to the
like,
W3C. To the W3C, there is a lot of different information by different topics, and you can find there everything about accessibility that you'd like.
I also would like to mention a couple of things that probably will be interesting, except W3C. That is actually, this is very cool. Yes, this is not that easy, but everything can be found there more than just WCAG. Also, there is a place to go when you want to be certified. It's International Association of Accessibility Professionals. If you go to their site and select certification, then you will find the body of knowledge. It's for free. The body itself, it's not very big, but it contains some links, or it contains hints where you must like search for. And their hints and the like exact names of what they want from you will lead you to interesting and sometimes very fun information. And the second one is there is maybe you heard about it, maybe not, Ellie community. It's like A11 and Y, and you can just go to YouTube, and in YouTube just type it in Ellie, and it's a very, very pleasant and interesting guy who tells about things from like really fun perspective. So I think this one you will like.
From Google, Ali casts from Rob Dodson, Google.
They are like different. I like one of them, but it doesn't mean that you will have to like them. Just go there, and I hope you will have fun. It's more fun than W3C.
Mhm.
Okay, guys, let's wrap up. Yes, because we're out of time, and I
Yeah.
guess we answered a lot of questions. Super good.
Yeah, that's true.
Thank you.
That's true, guys. Let's wrap up the session. Thanks a lot for this really packed and insightful webinar. And I think, I mean, you can give us the list of all this links and sources that you mentioned, and we can put this in the follow up. I think it will be very useful for everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.
who
Also,
subscribed.
I'm sorry. Also, I just have to say that we have like bonus slides, which we also send in follow-up. This is like a present from us.
All right.
It's the difference between accessibility, usability, and inclusion. Just didn't have time to tell about it, but slides we do have.
Cool. So that's a great bonus. All right. Thanks. Thank you all, guys, and thanks for joining and listening to this webinar. It was a pleasure having you here, and yeah, let's meet sometime and continue. All right. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.